Hello, my name is Michael Aprile, and I'm getting ready to divulge some information on a series of videos that I'm going to make. And I'm not very professional at this, so it might be that I read a bunch of things that I'm going to tell you. But the thing of it is, it was written by me after I did a great deal of research for I think over about 2 years to produce a book called Absolutes in an Uncertain World, in which I was able to express um, the information that was came from the Bible was the absolute truth. And people doubt this today, and they're taught to doubt this today by many different things like universities and atheistic people who teach students across this United States and across the world. And I think that everybody should have their fair chance of saying what they want to say, and I think I have some irrefutable proofs that the Bible is actually valid beyond belief, authentic beyond belief, and can be proven, and that there are absolutes in the world, and they are mostly in the Bible. So, if you will follow me on this and just stay with me, I will make a series of videos that show you some of those proofs in the Bible, and it might just be interesting to you, even if you don't believe anything. If you want to be a complete non-believer in every way, that's fine. But the thing of it is that um, I'm going to show you some proofs, and you're going to have to say in your mind, are they true or are they not true? And if you say they're not true, then you're going to have to come up with proofs of your own to show me that they are. So anyway, let's get with this. Um, like I say, bear with me because I'm not very professional at this, and I'm just going to be reading a lot of it. So um, I hope that you enjoy this. I'm going to try to break it up into many videos over time so that you can not have to drudge through listening to me read to you or tell you things over a long hauls of videos. So here we go. We're going to give this a good start now. Uh, first, I want to start with the question: was the Bible corrupted over time? I seem to hear this a lot from people who are taught by atheists that the Bible must have been corrupted over time, because how could something go on for thousands of years and not be changed and changed and changed? So some people have the idea that the New Testament has been translated so many times that it has become corrupted through stages of translation. And if the translations are being made from other translations, then they might have a case. But translations are actually made directly from the original Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic sources based on thousands of ancient manuscripts. Otherwise, uh, they do not start from what someone translated to and then translate that to something else. They have actually always gone back to the originals and translated. So, um, the Bible was not written in English. The Bible was written in other languages, Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. And so uh, it had to be translated to become English. And so we can look at that, but it was always taken, the point here is, it was always taken from the original source and not from further translations. Okay, so it wasn't like people say, well, it's kind of like you have the telephone, the old game telephone, where you whisper in somebody's ear, and then they take around and they go to the next person in line and they whisper in their ear the same thing as they heard it, and then they'd keep on that going, and at the end, it's nothing like what it was at the beginning. Well, that's not the case here, because what they would do is the original person would whisper, uh, and everyone he would whisper, and everyone who is going to translate it or interpret it in everyone's ear at the same time. That's how this is. So let's get that straight in our minds. So when one compares the text of one manuscript with another, the match is amazing. Sometimes the spelling may vary, the words may be transposed, but that is of little consequences concerning word order. Uh, Bruce M. Metzner, professor of emeritus of Princeton Theological Seminary, explains it makes a whale of a difference in English if you say dog bites man or man bites dog. It makes a big difference. So the sequence matters in English, but in Greek, it doesn't. One word functions as the subject of the sentence regardless of where it stands in the sequence. So if you're translating from English, that would mean it would be a big difference in translation and meaning. But if you're doing it from the Greek, it has the same. So Dr. Ravi Shankar, a visiting professor at Oxford University, also comments, in real terms, the New Testament is easily the best attested ancient writing in terms of sheer number of documents. The time span between the events and the documents and the variety of documents available to sustain or contradict it. There is nothing in ancient manuscript evidence to match such textual availability and integrity. The New Testament is in humanity. It is humanity's most reliable ancient document. Its textual integrity is more certain than of Plato's writings of Homer's Iliad. The Old Testament has also been remarkably well preserved. Our modern translations are confirmed by a huge number of ancient manuscripts in both Hebrew and Greek, including the mid-20th century discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. These are some scrolls they found in the Dead Sea area in in Europe, there in Eastern area, and they were also found in caves there. And they were some of them were in jars and some of them weren't. And these scrolls had the oldest existing fragments of almost all the Old Testament books dating from 150 BC. The similarity of the Dead Sea manuscripts to hand copies made even 1,000 years later is proof of the care of the ancient Hebrew scribes that they took in copying their manuscripts. So they always went from the original. And so the next question would be how much care was given to copying original manuscripts? No book in history has been copied as many times and as much care as has the Bible. The Talmud lists the following rules of copying the Old Testament. So here are the rules for copying the Old Testament they set down. The parchment had to be made from the skin of a clean animal, prepared by Jews only, and was to be fastened by strings from clean animals. Each column must have no less than 48 or more than 60 lines. The ink must be of no other color than black and had to be prepared according to special recipe. No word or letter could be written from memory. The scribe must have authentic copy before him, and he had to read and pronounce aloud each word before he wrote it on paper. He had to reverently wipe his pen each time before writing the word of God, and had to wash his whole body before writing the sacred name Jehovah down. So they were pretty strict, and one makes one mistake on a sheet condemn the whole sheet. So if this is kind of irritating, but if three mistakes were found on any page, the entire manuscript was condemned. So they kind of did a fact check on themselves, if you might say. When they were writing down the words from the translation from the original text, they wrote it down exactly as it was. They and they if they found one mistake, they threw that sheet out. And if they found 3 mistakes by checking back through it and fact checking, if it was exactly the same as the original, then they threw the whole manuscript out, and it took hours and hours to produce these manuscripts by hand. Every word and every letter was counted, and if a letter were omitted, an extra letter inserted, or if one letter touched another, the manuscript was condemned and destroyed. So, this was not some frivolous thing where they just wrote this down and then passed it on. They actually took great care. And so we know this to be true. The old rabbis gave the solemn warning to each young scribe. The scribe was the person who wrote the copy down. Take heed how thou dost thy work, for thy work is the work of heaven, lest thou drop or add a letter or manuscript so become a destroyer of the world. The scribe was also told that while he was writing, if even a king would enter the room and speak with him, the scribe was to ignore him until he finished the page he was working on. So he must have complete attention on what he's doing, lest he make a mistake. In fact, some texts were actually annotated. That is, each letter was individually counted, each letter. Thus, in copying the Old Testament, they would note that the letter Aleph, Aleph, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, occurred 4,277 times, and so on. According to Westcott and Hort, the points in which we cannot be sure of original words are insignificant in proportion to the bulk of the whole, some 1 to 1,000. Thus, only one letter out of 1,580 in the Old Testament is open to question, and none of these uncertainties would change in the slightest any doctrinal teaching about that. So now we get into the Greek manuscript evidence. There are more than 4,000 different ancient Greek manuscripts containing all or portion of the New Testament that have survived to our time. These are written in different materials. Papyrus and parchment was one of those materials. During each Christian era, the writing material most commonly used was papyrus. The highly durable reed of the Nile Valley was glued together much like plywood and allowed to dry in the sun. In the 20th century, many remains of documents, both biblical and non-biblical, on papyrus have been discovered, especially in dry, arid lands of North Africa and the Middle East. Another material used was parchment. This was made from the skin of a sheep or goat, and it was widely used until the late Middle Ages when paper began to replace it. It was scarce and more expensive, hence it was used almost exclusively for important documents. So, an example, the first one is Codex Vaticanus and Codex Sinaiticus. They are two excellent parchment copies of entire New Testament which date from the 4th century, that is 325 to 450 AD. Older papyri was earlier still fragments and papyrus copies of portions of the New Testament date from 100 to 200 years, 180 to 225 AD, before Vaticanus and Sinaiticus. The outstanding ones are the Chester Beatty Papyrus and the Bodum Papyrus. From these 5 manuscripts alone, we can construct all of Luke, John, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Hebrews, and proportions of Matthew, Mark, Acts, and Revelation. Only the pastoral epistles, Titus, 1st and 2nd Timothy, and the general epistles, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd and 3rd John, and Philemon are excluded. The oldest fragment, perhaps the earliest piece of scripture surviving, is a fragment of papyrus codex containing John 18:31 through 33 and 37. It's called the Rylands Papyrus and dates from 130 AD, having been found in Egypt. The Rylands Papyrus has forced the critics to place the fourth gospel back into the first century, abandoning their earlier assertions that it could not have been written then by the Apostle John. This manuscript evidence creates a bridge of extant papyrus and parchment fragments and copies of the New Testament stretching back to almost the end of the first century. The large number of preserved copies without disagreement in content increases the chances that the Bible we have is preserved, the original text unmarred by heretical additions or corrupted. The books of the New Testament were widely circulated among the earliest Christians and could not have been corrupted without a great outcry on the part of Orthodox Christians. So that will be enough for today. And what I'll do is I'll make the next video, and it should cover common questions and objections um, of the validity and authenticity of the Bible. And I think you'll find it pretty darn interesting. So thanks for listening today. I'm really thankful that you came to this video, and I hope that you will watch my other ones so that we will see all the evidence and all the proofs that are available that the Bible was truth, true, and valid. Um, Thank you. This is Michael Aprile. Thanks for watching.